Hello, in this tutorial we are going to make a stat system integration to the quest system. So I'm going to create the folder structure. And the next step we are going to create a new script. Call it stat reward. Open it up. Set the namespace. I'm going to extend from reward. Implement the abstract members. Then we need to include using Debian Games stat system. So in this method we will need a few variables, so let's define them. Stats handler, that's basically the name of the stats handler where we want to apply the damage to. So in this case it's the player stats. To make it visible in the inspector we add serialize field. Then we need the stat where we want to apply the damage to. By default I'm going to use just XP. Then we need the value, how much XP we want to apply. And when you want to apply the damage, the value have to be 35 if you want to increase the value. So we want to increase the XP, so our value needs to be negative. Let's make that also visible in the inspector. Here we can give the reward to the player. So I'm going to use stats handler and find the handler with stats manager, get stats handler, use the name stats handler. If the handler is null, we just return false. And here we can just handler.apply damage and use this method here, name and damage. So I'm going to set this stat name for the stat name and value for the damage. And that's basically it. Now we need to implement the display for this reward. So I'm going to override display reward, and I'm going to use this method here. Basically this is the runtime game object that is already attached to the rewards parent. Okay, let's make that prefab. Go to scene, UI, make the quest window visible, scroll down to rewards and create a new text component here, or text game object. I'm going to set plus 35 XP. This is how it should look like here, so let's change the color. Increase the size. And I'm going to also add an outline effect. So now let's rename this game object. And make it a prefab. Now we can delete it. Go to the quest system. Well, let's let it add it later. Let's first display the reward prefab. So this game object will have a text component on it. So I'm going to use text. Text equals to reward dot get component text. Now we set the text to display the current values. So text.text equals to, I want to display plus or minus on the value. So I'm going to check if the value is smaller than 0, I want to display a plus, otherwise a minus. And then I want to display the value, this .m value, and also the stat name. That's basically it. Let's save. Go to the quest system, hit the plus button, and add the new created stat reward. Select it, drag the stat reward prefab to the display reward prefab field. We have the quest window still open, but doesn't matter. So as you can see, our XP is displayed, but it has plus minus in front of it. So we need to make this value positive because we are already checking if it's plus or minus. So math f abs. Now let's hide this window by default, so it's not visible when we start the game. As you can see, now the value is displayed correctly, and if we go to the quest system, select the stat and maybe change this value, it will be updating the text component. And if we accept it and complete the quest, here you can see the XP, the current XP, and if we complete it, the XP is added to the player.